this is going to be easy for me to talk about. This video is way overdue. Not because this game came out over 15 years ago, but because I have some people that I know close to me who are always telling me how great this game was, how amazing it was to them, and that I need to play the game for myself. Now, I believe that everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and I know that I'm in the minority when I say this, but it has to be said, and it's going to upset a lot of people when I do. Resident Evil 4 was by far one of the worst games I have ever played in my life. So sit down and relax because this is going to be a long one. Here's my review of Resident Evil 4 for the PlayStation 4. Now, I have seen some reviews talking about how bad this game is, but as far as I can see, they were just trolling. They're not really being serious with their review. So, with this review, I'm going to start with the controls. Now, I know that the game was first released back in '05, which means the controls are, of course, dated. I've even heard the argument that it's the same control schemes as the previous Resident Evil games, 1, 2, and 3. And that would have been fine if this game also had the fixed camera angles as those games. But being that this is the first 3D Resident Evil game, as far as I can tell, it should have done better with the control scheme. And I've no other games that came out around that time that did have better control schemes. What I'm talking about here as a major flaw is the inability to move while you're aiming. Now, of course, I've heard that this is just a technique they decided to go with the development, a decision they made when developing this game to add more tension for the situation you're in. But it becomes an issue when you're trying to shoot those assholes with the double shot crossbows, or you're trying to move while aiming so that you can not only take down your target, but you can also avoid getting hit yourself. Leon's movements also feel very stiff. Sometimes when you're trying to navigate around a staircase railing, it seems like Leon is having a seizure trying to get the task done. Let's move on. There are some elements from the story that it just didn't make sense to me. I just didn't understand them. And it's not because I am an idiot, not because I don't pay attention or anything. It's because the game fails to inform you on these certain plot elements. Now, I've only recently heard about a spin off game that supposedly takes place before this one, which will explain these plot holes. And you're probably wondering, well, what am I talking about? Well, for starters, how does Leon know who Wesker is? How did he hear the rumor of Ada Wong working for Wesker? And who the hell is Krauser? How does Lewis get around the game without any trouble? I know it's for plot or whatever, but still. Oh, wait. Sure. Now is when something like this happens. Now that makes sense. Now, what is the deal with the level design of the game? Speaking from a architectural mindset, the fact that you start in a village and then you go into a castle, then you go to an island that has a prison and a lab, and between all of this, you have underground levels, you have lava levels, etc. It just seems inconsistent. It kind of feels like Capcom wanted to throw as many elements as they could into this game and didn't really care if it made sense or not. Some of these levels were also really ridiculous, like the level where you ride the minecart through the tunnels, or even the one where you're on top of the giant bulldozer that Ashley is driving and you're getting chased by random spawning enemies and you're getting chased by these weak ass trucks that gets taken down in like one hit. Now sure, they wanted to build excitement for you. They wanted you to have some energy for these action scenes. But this is supposed to be a survival horror, not an action game. You can't give Resident Evil 4 a pass for doing this, but then you destroy Resident Evil 6 for doing the same thing. And by that I mean you can't crap on Resident Evil 6 for being an action game when Resident Evil 4 is just as much as an action game itself. Now let's talk about Ashley for a bit. Now, I know people will agree with me when I say that she was one of the worst mechanics of the game. Luckily for the players, you don't have to deal with her for the entire game. She's not around for all of it, but she's around for most of it. And when she is with you, it's a pain in the ass to deal with her. You have to find hiding spots for her to keep her alive. You have to make her wait for you in certain areas, which is also risking the possibility of an enemy trying to kidnap her. And sometimes she's just damn lazy. I didn't think climbing down a ladder was too difficult for someone who appears to be in pretty good shape and is always requesting you to catch her when she jumps off of the ladder. I also need to mention the fact that you have to sacrifice your resources to keep her alive. Any other survival horror game with a second character tagging along would have had that character developed to allow them to either fend for themselves or even help you out by giving you items that they find. I mean, she doesn't give you anything, she doesn't help you at all. She just sits there, scared and frozen, and you have to protect her. Granted, this game is old, and it's clear that they decided to go with this route as opposed to going with another direction with the game. Now, I also have an issue with the merchant. Originally, my issue with the merchant itself was that he appears everywhere, no matter where you go, no matter how much crap you've gone through or how much destruction you cause, he finds a way to travel all around the map. But I since then dropped that issue because he has to be everywhere for you to have your resources. My issue with the merchant is that he can sell you new weapons, new guns, but he can't sell you any ammo. Now, you can make the argument that if he sells you ammo, the game could be too easy. You won't have to find ammo if you can buy it off of him. My argument for that is when you go to buy a first aid spray from the merchant, if you have none in your inventory, you can only buy two. If you have one in your inventory, you can only buy one. They can do the same thing with ammo. You can only buy a small, limited amount of ammo for those moments when you need it. Because while there is ammo all over the game that you can find, you will have those situations where you meet him and you have no ammo whatsoever. My next issue is with some of the enemies that you fight, but more specifically, the bosses that are in the game. You have a giant fish, you have giant trolls, you have this fucking thing, and this fucking thing. Even these fucking things you gotta deal with. And an issue that I had with the game is that I had a lot of trouble with a lot of the different levels in the game, but not so much with the final boss. I was expecting a challenge from the final boss. I played the game on normal. I had a lot of difficulties trying to get through the game itself, especially the level with the fucking catapults outside the castle. Because either I would die or Ashley would die. And I also had an issue with those pussies with the RPGs hiding behind the walls who appear to shoot you and then hide away. Really frustrating. But with the final boss, it was pretty easy. It didn't really take much for me to actually defeat him. And another issue I had with the final level itself was when you have to escape the island. The timer is going down during the cutscene, so it did seem a little unfair at first, but then you learn that you don't really need all the time they give you. You can get out a lot quicker. But the end of the game where you're escaping the island on the jet ski was pretty similar to the ending of the first Devil May Cry game. Now, I understand that before this game was released, it actually did take a different direction with development, and that's what gave us the first Devil May Cry. So it makes sense for both games to have a very similar ending, but it also shows that they were kind of lazy with that development. One of my biggest issues with one of the levels is when you have the support helicopter come help you out. Not so much that he helps you out, because that was actually a cool part of the game, but in the beginning of that scene, the helicopter is trying to use stealth to knock down this giant tower to kill some of the infected, and the infected notice it and act surprised if they didn't hear a helicopter coming. I mean, a helicopter is a heavy piece of machinery. It makes a lot of noise. You can hear it from a good distance away. So the fact that none of these infected could hear the helicopter right above them, it just seems unbelievable, like completely unbelievable. Also, at the end of that scene, when they blow the helicopter out the sky, they use a standard RPG despite the missile actually locking onto the helicopter. And when it crashed, there was no pilot in the cockpit. You can't give me any excuse for that at all. They just didn't put it in the game. So, sorry. So, despite all that, did I enjoy anything from this game? Well, yeah, there was one thing maybe. There's a part of the game where you play as Ashley, and it's a very brief moment. And like I said, I didn't really like Ashley as a game mechanic, but when you play as her, it's a very suspenseful moment because you have no weapons to protect yourself. All you can do is get healing items, and her ability to kick off an enemy who grabs her is also very weak. But this is what made that moment so creepy and suspenseful and heart racing. And they also were able to give you a very unique scenery and atmosphere when you're in this mission as her, and they make it feel really creepy and scary. Unfortunately, that feeling does tend to go away when you see the suits of armor starting to attack you, which you then learn that the insects have possessed the suits of armor. I mean, seriously, unmanned suits of armors with nobody in it is possessed by a bug. Now, as I said, people are entitled to their own opinion, but you can't disagree when I say that that was really stupid. One thing that I also enjoyed besides the Ashley mission was the actual boss fight against Krauser. It was kind of a cool boss fight where he appears and you have to dodge his knife attacks, you have to try to take damage on him. But then it also kind of lost its feeling because that boss fight felt like it was taking too long to get through. I just felt like it was too long of a fight. And then at the end of it, I ended up having no time whatsoever to escape, and I died like 5 times in a row before I could beat it. One other problem that I had with Krauser himself is the first time you meet him, it's a complete quick time event boss fight, which I died the first time because I thought it was a regular cutscene and I put my controller down. So that was disappointing and misleading. I also thought it was really stupid when Leon is in that tunnel and he's dodging all the lasers. That was literally taken from the first Resident Evil movie game. And we all know how crappy those movies are. So why would you take inspiration from a piece of garbage and put it into your game and then you can call this game a masterpiece? What amazes me about this game is the fact that I've seen video recommendations of people who have beaten this game in under 2 hours. It took me almost 19 hours to beat this game. So it's just amazing how people can actually play this and get through it in such a short time. Obviously, I did not enjoy my time with this game. I got to the point where I really wanted to just beat the game so I can take it out of my PlayStation, snap it in half, and be done with it. Unfortunately, my game is a digital copy, not a physical copy. I'm also aware that there is one or two ADA campaigns, and they're supposed to be really short, and I heard they're actually kind of good. Maybe I'll check them out just so I can say that I've beaten everything this game had to offer, but we'll see. It wouldn't make sense for me to tell you not to buy this game because pretty much anyone who's watching this video has had the game so many times, played the game so many times. So I'm not going to say that. Um, I think that the only thing I appreciate about this game was the fact that with its initial development, it is what gave us the first Devil May Cry, a game that I've loved and I've played it so many times. And I've said in a previous video that I love Capcom. I love a good amount of their games. Devil May Cry series is one of them. I only recently got into Resident Evil with Resident Evil 7 and then the remakes of 2 and 3 and the remastered of 1. So don't think that I hate the series at all. I am actually a fan of the series now. I just didn't really enjoy this game at all. Now, as I said, we are entitled to our own opinions, so don't be hurtful in the comments. Let's not have a heavy, angry debate. Let's just have a discussion about this game. That's my review. That's my review for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like or dislike because I'm sure you're going to dislike this video, but that's okay. And I hope you subscribe so you can watch some more of my content because I have a lot of stuff out there and I have more stuff to come. I'm at the Online Tech, and I'll see you guys on the next one. One final point I want to make before I end this video is this. I mean, come on. Someone explain this to me. Explain how this was okay in the game. I don't know what to say about this. I mean, come on.